Hi, this is Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Intra-Arbor Solutions, and you're listening to Briefings Direct, closing the gap between the applications and services a company needs and the ones they actually are able to produce has long been a missing keystone for attaining digital transformation. For increasingly software-driven organizations, the speed by which developers produce the needed processes, data flows, and business transactions has been much too slow for much too long. Fast forward to the pressing new requirements of pervasively digital business in 2022, and it's abundantly clear that something has to change. Stay with us now as we explore the latest capabilities and burgeoning strengths of low-code software development. To learn how the current maturity of low-code development will revolutionize the delivery of essential business applications, please join me now in welcoming our guest. We're here with Matt Calkins. He's founder and CEO of Appian in Reston, Virginia. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, Dana. It's a pleasure being here.
We're glad to have you. Matt, in a nutshell, what is low-code and why is this the time for it to revolutionize digital business?
Low-code is a new way to build applications and processes. Instead of using code, drawing line by line your code, you make a picture. You draw a flowchart with lines and boxes and arrows and a start node and an end node, and that becomes your program. So instead of thinking of a program, it's just like a series of characters and instructions. Now, at its essence, it's a drawing. That's a very human way to program and to envision a process. It's a very human way, and it's empowering to people because it's intuitive to all of us. It's also a lot faster, and this is the key advantage of low code, is that when you do less coding, you move faster. So now a person can describe a new process by drawing a flowchart maybe 10 times as fast, even 20 times as fast as they could have described the same process using lines of code. And when you put that kind of power in the power of speed in the hands of a person, they can develop a lot more software, or they could develop it and go back and change it periodically to keep up with the times. It allows you far greater flexibility in the way your organization behaves as expressed through software.
And what is it about this period of time and the maturity of low code, the capabilities of the platform itself, that should get more people excited about this?
Well, let's start with the understanding that low code is about speed, and speed is helpful because it helps you keep up with change. There's never been a time that there's been so much change to keep up with as right now. In the last few years, change has gone from being a nice to have to being a must have, right? In the pandemic, every organization had to change in order to survive, had to change to keep up with the way their customers wanted to do business, the way their employees wanted to work, and the locations from which they wanted to work, had to keep up with regulations. I mean, for years, we've been talking about change. We've been talking about digital transformation, but it's never been so imperative as in the last few years. I think now we've reached a real turning point. We've been talking about it for years, but we've reached a real turning point where change is no longer an option. It's a necessity. And change is what we're all about, the speed that allows you to change.
And many times the reason why speed wasn't as fast as people wanted was just the difficulty and complexity of software development. What is being done to make software development a wind in your sail rather than an obstacle to overcome?
Yeah, seriously, software has been so difficult to create and to change. I think someday we're actually going to look back on this period of history and be amazed at how hard we made it on ourselves to program our machines. How difficult it was to change the behavior of our organizations, because of course our behavior is written in software. We're going to look back and think it's astonishing that our software was the most immutable thing about our organizations. Harder to change than our building, our logo, our management, or anything could be changed more easily than our software. That makes no sense to me because software is ideas and it should be easy to change them. But the way we've created code is so difficult. This structured language with which we instruct machines, it is so complicated. It is so inscrutable. If you didn't write it, it's hard to know what the person who did write it was thinking. It's very difficult to create and to change our applications. So this has got to change. We know we need more software and we're not getting more developers. So one way or another, we need a faster way to create and change our software. Low-code is such a way because it makes it intuitive. You're drawing, you're dragging and dropping boxes and arrows, very, very human-like in the way we're communicating. But you can see it as the last link in a long chain of advancements in the ease with which people can instruct their machines, starting with Ada Lovelace programming the Babbage machine, and all the way up to the present day, we keep making it easier to program our computers. And low code is just one more step in that direction. And it's not a finished step. We keep trying to make low code more intuitive, more wizards, more drag and drop, minimizing the need for anything that looks like code. We keep working on that. And we understand now the urgency between the global demand for new processes or software and the urgency of change in the pandemic era. We have every reason to be as fast as possible in the way we provide change to our customers.
And Matt, I suppose another difficulty has been the communication of requirements from those who are in the trenches, so to speak, to those who are doing the software development. Is there something about low code too that helps understand what the business is doing better for those who are then trying to instantiate that in code? Is there a benefit here, not only in the coding, but also in the communication?
Absolutely, there is. If you or I were to look at a low-code application, we would understand the main structure of how it works. We would understand the flow because it is a flow chart. And by making it understandable to everybody, even the ones who didn't program it, we've democratized the meaning of a program. We've made it easier to create that program, but also easier to understand it and therefore to validate it, to look at it and think, that's not exactly the way I believe it should work. I'm in the trenches. You may have written it, but I'm looking at it and I know that's not right. That's a degree of common knowledge that'll help us be on the same page and write better software and pivot our organizations more quickly to match the needs that our people in the trenches, as you say, know that we have.
And so you also mentioned earlier, Matt, that we're having a harder time finding developers. It seems like we're having a harder time finding all sorts of skills and labor, but development seems to be probably at the top. If that's the case, what's your outlook generally for development? If we have sort of a finite set of resources, but we have a growing demand, how do we justify these two realities?
Yeah, we're just going to have to get better at creating applications more cheaply and with less time. Because we can't continue on these two curves. They're diverging. We need way more software and we're not getting way more developers. And for that matter, the cost of a developer is very expensive. So we need to be more efficient and get more applications per developer per year. So if it's not low code, it's going to have to be something very much like low code, a more human, more intuitive, faster way to express our instructions to a machine. Another way you do this, of course, is to democratize programming to the point where not everybody who does it has to be a quote developer. End quote. Maybe we could take somebody who's kind of a power user, but bring them in and make them a programmer. Maybe we could create a programming language, a low-code programming language that is easy enough so that a fairly technical person could spend a month and become a productive professional developer in this medium. That's what we're going for. We want to democratize access to programming so that more people become developers and developers become far more efficient.
Well, what is it about Appians' legacy that puts you in a position to be helpful in all of this? What is it that Appian brings to the table, and what have you been doing that leads you to a point where you can grab the bull by the horns and actually make this transformation?
Well, this is the thing we've been focused on for a long time. About 15 years, we've been on this exact issue. How do you create a program by drawing a picture? I encountered that idea nearly 20 years ago, loved the concept, felt it was necessary. The way the world was going, more software, not more programmers. We were going to need something like that. And we have been working on that for more than a decade and a half. We were the first low-code company to go public in 2017. We've been pioneering this space. We're not the only pioneer, but we're definitely one of them. And so we've put a lot of thought into this, and our entire business is focused on just this, empowering people to create their processes. And so we've got a lot to add. We're setting the standards. We're creating the new shape of the market. We're introducing the new nomenclature. Low code wasn't a big thing when we decided that was the right term. We went public with low code as our headline. And a lot of people thought, oh, you shouldn't do that. You should always go public with a very famous, well-known market. But we were first, and now it's a much bigger deal, and it's better.
Well, I've been curious over the years as I've watched software become more sophisticated. That is to say, the output of software developers. They've helped people automate things like computer aided design and engineering, and media and video production, and the design of homes and buildings. It seems like the developers have put all their emphasis into automating the business tasks of other people, but maybe were too busy to actually automate what they were doing, that the cobblers children have no shoes, perhaps. Am I off base? Why has the development of software for the development of software lagged?
That's funny. You could think of the advances in software as being of two types, and you're right on this dichotomy. There's the sheer power inside the software application, and then there's the connection from the user to the application. And of course, according to Moore's law, the power is just increasing all the time. We've got more power to work with, so it's incredible what these programs can do. But the interface hasn't advanced as much, has it? Right? The connection between a human and a machine is not advancing according to Moore's law. And sometimes it seems pretty backward. It seems like we ought to be able to do better in facilitating human to machine collaboration and instruction. And that's what we're all about. And you can't just, surf the advances in the latest chip technology. You've got to just think about what would be more human and what would be more intuitive and empowering. That's a critical area of advancement as well.
So, Matt, given what we've described about the need, we, I suppose, need an industry that can respond to that. So where is low-code as an industry? Where is low-code going as a technology?
Low-code is in the midst of a dramatic change. Like all industries that reach maturity, it has to change at some point from focusing on what it does to focusing on what it's for. So far, the low-code industry is focused on what it does, and you can see that in the name low-code even. That's what it does. It gives you an interface to create a program with less code. That's low-code. But what it doesn't address is what it's for, and what it's for is change. This industry is really about providing the ability to change to our customers. Our customers want to create a new behavior, and these days behavior is done in software. So you're going to create a new process. And we need to make it so easy for a customer to think of that new process, design that new process, deploy it, run it, change it, everything about it. End to end, we are going to be a change engine, allowing them to create and do everything with a new process. That's the emerging mission for our industry. We can't afford any longer to be about the technology. We have to be about the effect of the technology.
Matt, can we unpack this for like two different constituencies? One would be the business leader, so they understand what you're getting at, but also the technologists, the IT people, and then the developers themselves. What do you mean for business, and what does this mean for technology?
First of all, it means that business and technology are going to be using the same product. Instead of having a product for business, a product for technology, another product that you use later on, we need a unified suite, a change engine that gets you from discovering your new process to designing your new process to automating and deploying your new process. And so the business will be involved in this largely in the discovery phase and the ROI phase. And then the technologists and the developers will be involved in this in the design and the deployment and the automation. It's going to be one platform, a single product with a single SKU, getting you from the beginning to the end on a new process as fast as possible. So by bringing people together, allowing them a common language and a common interface, we're going to make it so much easier for businesses to change. And if you don't think this is necessary, just consider how much difficulty businesses have today with changing fast enough. They're always, feels to me, always behind the times, always behaving a little too slow, always reacting to new ideas slower than they should, always, like you said at the beginning, having their aspirations a little bit unmet, their backlog a little too big. Businesses need to move faster. They need change. And so we're providing a change engine in order to facilitate that most fundamental want in every business I've seen.
Another trend I've noticed over the years, Matt, is that in development in particular, we go through a sort of pendulum swing between centralization and decentralization. And often it's through a lot of different tools, a lot of testing environments, and lack of integration between them. That gets too unwieldy, and then we swing back to a bit more centralized and integrated platform approach. Is that what's happening with low code as well? Are we swinging in one direction or the other?
First of all, you're completely right about that pendulum. I've seen the same thing over the last few decades. And lately, you could say that the pendulum has swung pretty far toward the power of the largest stack vendors and the big technology vendors. They've become exceptionally powerful, exceptionally unreplaceable in many organizations, and pervasive. And I believe that the pendulum, when it swings, is going to swing back in the other direction. And it's going to go back toward best of breed, because best of breed tends to have better products. I think it's going to be very important for customers to get the speed of change that they want and the agility in the way they execute their plans. And big tech is going to be a little bit too much of a straitjacket to achieve that. So they're going to want freedom of choice. They're going to want to be able to plug into whatever, let's say, data sources they may have around the enterprise instead of move all the data to one location. There's going to be a swing back in that pendulum toward best of breed and freedom and the natural idiosyncrasy that emerges in any large organization. You can't put that in a straitjacket or a cookie cutter. And so they're going to want to express their unique plans and their unique backgrounds. I think low-code is an empowerment tool in this way also. Of course, it's empowering in the fact that you can program quickly. Of course, it's empowering in that you can change quickly. But it's also empowering in that you can adapt to the unique organization that you already are. You can adapt to the fact that you've got your data in 27 different places, and some of them are in the cloud and some of them are on premise and they're in different formats, and some of them are in databases you haven't touched in 20 years, but your data is scattered. That's the kind of situation that demands freedom. And low-code is very good at adapting to unique situations like that. So it's empowering in that it facilitates idiosyncrasy, and it also is going to benefit from that swing away from centralization and toward best of breed and individual empowerment.
And when we look for the best of breed approach to things like process mining and low code and democratization of skills, as you pointed out, are there specific use cases that come to mind where this will be the most valuable the soonest? Is there a low-lying fruit, if you will, to where low-code platforms will emerge and that the early adopters will be there and they'll get the best results?
Well, we're seeing adoption in all situations right now. Every business of scale, every organization of scale is in need of change, especially in the last few years, but ever after this, because change has become such a norm. Every organization is going to need to make change. Imagine a new regulation. Imagine entering a new business. Imagine launching a new product. Imagine having your customers expect something different from you and needing to change your behavior in order to adapt to that. Imagine your employees saying that they wanted to work in a new way, from a new location, in a new pattern, on different hours. All of these things require new behaviors. And when you adopt a behavior at scale in an organization, you are always facilitating it with software. So every change an organization needs to make now is a change that is written or drawn in software. Let me tell you, for example, we helped a large financial institution a few years ago. And when I say large, I mean maybe the most famous financial institution in the world. They were launching a new product. Entering a new market, they needed new behaviors, and they realized they couldn't code it fast enough. So they turned to us. They used our low-code platform to program the new behaviors, the new case management that they required to launch this product. And then they were able to launch on time. It was successful. And every time they've had to make a new launch or adjustment or behavior around this product after that, they can come right back to this platform and write some new processes. And it's as easy as drawing. It's low code. It's very simple. And so it's become a major part of the way they do business. They've relied on low code now to enable their agility. And every large organization is facing the same situation. They need to be agile. They're looking for a means to quick change, and low code can be that.
It just occurred to me that we probably should have brought it up earlier, Matt, but are there any misconceptions that you find in the field about low code that perhaps it's time to help them better understand the reality? It sounds like from that last example that there are some people that might not be understanding the benefits here.
The biggest misconception about low code is that it isn't powerful. It's simple, and so people assume that it's a toy, but it's anything but. In fact, it is as powerful as a development language. And it's in use today by the largest organizations in the world to create some of the most important processes that they run. Processes that are a matter of law or a matter of satisfying the customer that addresses the core workflows in an organization, low-code is used for some of the world's most important processes today. And so that's the number one misconception. The next misconception is that it's hard to get into. Low-code, in fact, is exceptionally simple to get into. In fact, you could log onto Appians' website and learn right there. We've got videos, there's a training course, there's a free environment that you can use. We're making it as easy as possible to learn low-code, make that part of your skill set, and make use of it. So low-code is actually easy to get into and very powerful, but not everyone realizes it.
I bet there's a conception or misconception about how software developers themselves feel about low-code. How do they react to it?
Well, some of them dive right in and realize that it's very empowering. And others are very attached to a programming language that they've used in the past and prefer to stick with it. So I see all kinds of reactions to this. But to those who are on the edge of programming, like let's say they're starting a career, they're in their 20s, they're just learning they're learning their place in the world of development, and this tool comes along, well, they love it. They love it. Those who are getting going with their careers see this as an unqualified positive, and they enthusiastically get involved. And it's true, the wages are very high right now. Salaries are high for people who know how to do this. There's a shortage of low-code developers, and so the people who know how to do this are commanding a lot of money and influence in the market. So yeah, I see it as a great tool for those who are finding their way into the development field.
All right. Well, as we get close to the end, I'd like to get a bit more practical in terms of how to get started. If you're a chief technology officer, if you're a CEO or on the board, if you're a CIO, how could Appian help you in your role and as a result help your company?
Question number one, if you're an executive at a big organization, you got to ask yourself, are we changing fast enough? Almost certainly the answer is going to be no. But seriously, think about that. Don't measure yourself against what you thought was possible. Measure yourself against what your customers would like. Are we moving as fast as our customers wish we were moving? Are we introducing new products? Are we changing our behavior? Are we as responsive as ideally we would be? There's almost no business I know of that could say yes to that question. If it's true that you would like to move faster, now is your chance. There is now such a thing as a low-code suite that can take you from discovering a new process to designing it to automating it in the same product, and you can increase the rate at which you launch a new process by 10x or 20x. So an executive can ask these questions and can direct the organization to look into low code. And whether you're on the board or the CEO or the CTO or the CIO, the direction would be the same. Ask that question and then talk to some low code vendors.
And how about the ecosystem that surrounds you? It seems like over the years there have been consultancies that have developed within vertical industries and focus on solutions. And it seems to me that this would be something that would be very important and of interest to them. They're not interested in selling software. They're interested in creating solutions in vertical industries. What is your partner ecosystem like?
There's been a lot of enthusiasm. Look, if you've got expertise in one vertical, one industry, and you want to bring that expertise to value by instantiating it, well, there's no better way to instantiate it than in a low-code framework. It's so easy to deploy and adjust. Every client you have is going to want a variation on your expertise, but the core expertise can be expressed and then modified to fit each circumstance so quickly in low code that now, instead of selling your time, just an hourly basis, now you're selling your ideas and they're reproducible. This is a critical pivot where you go from kind of selling the minutes to selling the ideas. And as such, this has been very enthusiastically adopted by people who are consultants who have expertise in one industry or another.
All right, Matt, how about some parting thoughts on the next chapter of low-code development? I don't suppose you're going to be pre-announcing anything, but where should we expect the direction of productivity to go? What might be coming next?
Well, it's not a pre-announcement, but we announced 6 days ago a major new product. So if you don't mind, I'll mention that. We just announced our process mining module, which we've been working on for a long time. We bought a company. We've been developing it. We finally merged it into our platform. And let me briefly tell you what process mining adds to a low-code suite. Process mining is like an X-ray. giving you a view of what behaviors are actually happening inside your enterprise. It looks at the usage logs of your applications, weaves them together to create a unified understanding of the sequences and the patterns of behaviors that happen whenever you launch a new case of any kind. So after a customer calls, what do we do? After a case is launched, what sequence of actions do we then pursue? And based on that look, that X-ray into your actions, you can tell whether it's too slow, whether you're being inefficient some of the time, whether you're spending too much money, routing work to the wrong resource, keeping your customers waiting for too long. This X-ray can tell you a lot about where you need to build a new process or where you need to improve your processes. And when you get that diagnostic, you can convert it. You can make a workflow based on what you learned. So this is the natural starting point for the journey of a process. First, we take the X-ray and we understand what's inefficient and where we need to make an improvement. And now we develop the new process. We use a LowCode, a workflow interface to drag and drop the right process, and then we automate it. So you start with discovery, then you go to design, and then you go to automation, and it's all in the same product. So I think it's a big step. It's going to be a great way to measure ROI. It's going to be a great way to find new places to use LowCode. And it'll be well in demand by our partners also, because they're going to enjoy deploying their expertise to discover new places where they could be of use.
I think the timing is very auspicious in that process is so now distributed across multiple organizations as we've gone to cloud native services and we've gone to using third parties as SaaS services for so much. It's hard to grasp the process because it's really not inside your four walls and probably never will be again. Is there something about process mining that helps ameliorate this complexity of a distributed business?
Yes. Process mining looks at all the usage logs and brings them together. That's really the magic in the technology. So whereas we used to see only one aspect of the business and one dimension of our behavior at a time, now we see all of it. And just like if you were going from a 2D view to a 3D view, things start popping out at you. It becomes much clearer what could be improved and where the inefficiencies lie. It's a great clarification tool.
Right. Well, it sounds like that's something we could dive deeper into at some point, and it's very interesting. And as I say, the timing seems very good. Any other ways that people can learn more if they're intrigued, if those want to take a bigger step towards LowCode? What do you advise them in terms of making this move from a lesson into an actual engagement?
Well, we're so eager to make it easy for you to learn LowCode. We're out there building our community as fast as we can. We've got free resources, free environments to use it, a great program to get you involved, a forum where you can post your work and learn from other people's work. Just go to appian.com or lowcode.com and avail yourself of all these resources. It's a booming industry.
Well, great. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. You've been listening to a sponsored Briefings Direct discussion on the latest capabilities and burgeoning strengths of low-code software development. And we've learned how the current maturity of low-code development will revolutionize the delivery of essential business applications. So a big thank you to our guest. We've been here with Matt Culkins. He's founder and CEO of Appian. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Dana. It's been a great pleasure.
And a big thank you as well to our audience for joining this Briefings Direct Future of Application Development discussion. I'm Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at InterArmor Solutions, your host for this Appian-sponsored interview. Thanks again for listening. Please pass this along to your digital business community and do come back next time.